Adapt and overcome, I think, should be today's theme. Right, Heather?
We learned it all last year, Matt. We just keep rolling with the punches.
That's it. That's it. We are live. As usual, well, not as usual. We're typically live at 5:30 on Wednesday, 5:30 Eastern, that is 4:30 Central every single week. We had some technical difficulties, but we are making it work. This is How to CPCU, a voluntary production of the CPCU Society members that put it together and contribute to it and get all that great information about the CPCU Society out there to anyone in the insurance world that could use it. As usual, quick reminder, please like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, retweet, get this stuff out there. We do take comments and questions live, so if you are watching live or even after the fact, if you leave a comment or a question, we try and get back to you. But we definitely take them live on air as we are live. So without further ado, I'll let you introduce our guest, Heather, seeing as how we originally had one plan and then we had to adapt to plan B, C, D, and E afterward, and you were instrumental in getting this pulled together.
We are super excited to have a publications committee member, Joe Harrington, with us this evening to talk all things insights and what happens in the world of this fantastic digest of information that the CPCU Society publishes 4 times a year. Welcome, Joe.
Well, thank you, Heather and Matt and all of you. Thank you for your patience. I hope my work in publications is better than my work in technology. Yeah. Insights is the professional journal of the CPCU Society. The members of the committee have wanted it to be a publication that provides information for CPCUs and of CPCUs. That people will be sharing their information, advancing their careers, both by seeing what their colleagues are doing and thinking and observing, as well as advancing in their careers by developing their own knowledge into article format, so that you can get a lot of credit towards CE by developing an insights article, and you can even get some credit for reading the articles. And so we are always extending the offer to CPCUs to submit articles and ideas for articles. Don't be intimidated by the fact, wow, writing a paper, I haven't done that since college. Didn't like it then. I'm not going to do it now. Everyone listening here has a lot of information that they can share with their colleagues, and we are there to help them put it together in article format. And I, in particular, if somebody has a bunch of ideas and kind of spills them out into willy-nilly into an email, I'll work with them to organize it into article form, get them started, or even edit a copy that they submit. And know the articles that we're looking for certainly should be timely in the sense of addressing things that affect the work of CPCUs now, but they don't always have to be the most latest, trendiest thing. There is a lot of work in insurance in general, and for CPCUs in particular, in reconsidering, reevaluating old ways of doing things, making sure that the understandings, the commitments that have long been part of the insurance business are still met, that they are not forgotten in some frenzy for innovation. But on top of that, keeping track of what are the emerging exposures, the new ways to insure them, manage the claims, do the risk and loss control that can make them insurable or insurable at a more affordable manner. Apart from discussing insurance and risk, it's a professional journal, and we welcome articles about professional development that, the more closely related to insurance they are, obviously the stronger a candidate for publication they'll be. But that is not written in stone. That is not some iron rule. Sharing your observations about what has made you more effective as a CPCU in whatever function you work in, whether it's actual underwriting or IT or claims or you're a producer, and whether the content relates directly to things like policy forms and rating and so forth, or more indirectly to leadership, communication, and professional development in general. So it seeks to be a multi-dimensional thing, a lot of entry points for a lot of CPCUs.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. I think the beauty of it is that because CPCU is such a diverse population in terms of the cross-section of professionals from the industry, Insights is really kind of like that compendium that, brings all of that, very vast and wide-ranging or diverse, expertise to a central place where people can kind of consume it and get some value out of it. What would you say, like, why did you get involved in the publications committee? I mean, have you always been a writer, or?
Yeah. See, I am the person on the committee who's been on it from the outset, and I come from writing. I started as a local journalist. I got into the periphery of the financial services industry, and then came over into insurance as the communications director for an advisory organization. So I make it clear whenever I give a presentation like this and so forth, I've been an observer of insurance. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I think I have value to add, but I make it very clear that I'm not a practitioner. I've never underwritten a penny of coverage. I've never sold a penny of coverage. I've never settled a single claim. And it's important for people to know that, to know when they read what I read, where it's coming from. There is a lot to be, and so therefore, the writing part is easier for me. There are people who are practitioners who have vast knowledge. Sometimes they don't appreciate just how much knowledge they have. And the writing part might be somewhat intimidating. It may seem to be a bigger job than it is. And committee members are there to help out. Committee members can help steer topic ideas into those that have a better chance of being accepted for publication, and topics that will be stronger and will work more for the CPCU readers as well for the author themselves in establishing the thought leadership of the author. I'll tell you a little bit about the process. We invite submissions, and sometimes we go out and sort of recruit submissions from certain individuals. They go to a committee which has a scorecard. There's a scorecard with some points that we award for the newness of the information, the relevance for CPCUs in their career, for how well the article is organized or easy to understand, and some other criteria. That's not the final word. And we don't publicize these scores. We don't even share our own scores with each other. We want to make sure that we have some regular objective basis for what we're reacting to. And you can score very, very high on one criteria and low on another, and we can work with that. We might send it back and say, this has got a lot of excellent information, but it needs to be reorganized somewhat. You got to do some of it yourself. We can help you with some. There may be others where, this reads very well and it's easy to read, but it hasn't gotten anything that's new, hasn't brought it up to date. Can you give it that extra piece of information that makes it much more of something that we're going to want to tell a CPCU, you ought to read this? It's difficult in this day and age. There's an avalanche of information, an avalanche of content on the web. And adding another publication to the mix, it's not like in the old days when you would get a few publications in your inbox and you probably at least flipped through them. We now need to work together with the society, with individual CPCUs, and with others in the industry to make sure we're doing just what it is that Matt talked about, which is taking all these different functional areas. As I said before, CPCUs are in IT, they're in claims, they're in sales, they're in underwriting, they're in marketing, whatever, and make sure that we are still providing the common knowledge so that the industry speaks to itself about certain common understandings and continues to advance them. And the industry speaks to the market and the general public in a sense, because insurance has an important role to play in establishing and maintaining certain common expectations more than any other business, even more than banking and other financial services. Understandings that you are protected by these methods and procedures that the industry has come to be comfortable with, familiar with. So anyway, I break again, and what else?
Well, so interestingly enough, Heather, you just are kind of going through that process now, right?
Yeah. I actually was working with one of the committee members that I know pretty well to submit an article, and it was a great process because he gave me some good feedback about how I could adjust and adapt and really make the article that I wrote more relevant to what is going on in our industry and what we've been through, especially in the last year. And it wasn't an overly complex process, but I'm a writer too. So I write regularly. So that's a, that's a calm for me to want to land.
Let me put you really on the spot and ask you, which article was that? What was the topic?
It's resilience isn't built in a vacuum. Yeah. And it was around the concept of, personal resilience building, but related it back to the scientific concepts of, building resilience and everything. Right. So, but that was the basis. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I remember reviewing that and saying it was well written, well prepared, and provided real knowledge from the perspective of the human development, human resource end, but to be the compelling, to take it that extra step and tell us, wow, I got to see that one. Because as you know, Heather, there's a lot of articles about resilience out there. There simply is. Yeah. And to serve you better and to serve the membership better, if we could toss it back to you and say, can we work together to add some connections within the insurance environment, the resilience, particularly, for instance, in claims. Resilience, when you have to share some bad news at least once a week, maybe even every day. Somebody is not going to think you're paying them enough on their claim. Where's the resilience for that? Some people wouldn't like that. I mean, it's a unique and a tough business because you do have to say no to customers sometimes. The customer is not always right in insurance. If it's a claim, you have to, honor the policy language and so forth. That environment creates a whole interesting and abiding challenge for something like resilience, the ability to, stick with it and so forth. And that's what we try to do. We really value and thank you for making that contribution. And when it gets kicked back to you, we hope it's not it's not a rejection by any means. And we hope it's not an open-ended burden like, oh man, well, what do they want? It is, can we take that extra step that says, wow, I saw that, and you ought to see that. That's an article on resilience that a CPCU really ought to see. That's what will serve you. That's what will serve the reader. That's what will serve the society.
Yeah. I mean, resilience truly is claims business. I mean, they practice it. They have to practice it daily. And especially as an adjuster, I mean, that's how I grew up in the industry was, my start and many years of my career were in adjusting. And if you don't build that mindset and then also build it into your work practices as well, you're going to wash out as a claims professional because you're going to the stress is overwhelming. It's a fast-paced, fast-moving environment that you have to be ready to adapt to, like on a dime. And I mean, it's evidenced again. We're looking at it with the winter storm that's happening in Texas and across the country right now. Claims professionals all over the country are stealing up their resilience capabilities to we're going to have an avalanche of things that we're going to need to be dealing with in the near future. So appreciate all of that advice. I am always ready for critical review and I'll run with it, because I've been wanting to publish in Insights for a long time and this was my opportunity to do that. So.
Well, good. Well, congratulations. Yeah. You're going to be in there. And now I'm having a biological problem.
we needed technology resilience, and now we need biological resilience. We'll get through it.
Yeah, physiological resilience. And that's great. That's the right attitude. Given the pace of things, it's been a long time since I had a serious copy editor work with me on my own stuff. And I could use that. I mean, I just go along and I get clients and I produce articles and I could stand to have some coaching myself. Everybody could use a coach, could use the direction. And we hope that the process of submitting to Insights will actually be in and of itself a growth process for a CPCU. Taking what they've learned, having others react to it, and identifying the value in what they have and how they can best project that value. That's going to be valuable for a professional throughout their career.
Oh, most definitely. And, you were talking about before how there's just this gigantic din of information and articles and things like that out there. I mean, literally for free, you can start an insurance blog if you want, right? But I think the beautiful part of Insights is that it's curated, and to your point, as far as the feedback mechanism goes, this is not just the insane ramblings of someone on the internet, right? Like, this is a crafted piece of high-level intellectual literature that brings value, right? And that's the other key here. It's not just esoteric kind of the history of insurance and it's 500 pages of dates and things like that. There is some application based or personal development based consideration that goes into it. I want to ask you this.
Sure.
In all of your time working on the committee, what is some of your more interesting articles that kind of like stick out, or maybe there's just like one or two that stick out that either made insights and that was like a really interesting kind of watermark type of article or unique kind of article, or was there one that didn't make the cut? Now we don't want to put anyone individually like on blast or something like that, but just in general, was there one that kind of like just didn't make the cut? It sounded fun, but in the grand scheme of things, it probably wouldn't have been a good idea to put it in insights.
Well, apart from my own sterling articles, the I can say there have been some excellent, and I can't recall the authors' names, so I will. Yep. Still have a landline too. Clearly, there have been some that have. I remember Kevin Quinley wrote one that I thought was the best I'd ever seen, and I'm trying to think if it was one of his on the Chiodala ruling or something else. But clearly, those that make the best impact are those that take a general concept and bring it up to date, but also bring it up to date in a way that the considerations will be valuable for some time yet to come. So when you have authors who say, who can summarize, this is some of the history, this is why we do things the way we do, the considerations that flowed into how policy forms are written or what market conduct standards expect and so forth. Here's something that happened, recently, and here are the considerations going forward, given what we have seen there. It could be, for instance, we haven't done a big one on the pandemic yet, but clearly the case there will be, we know that insurers have played a role in covering business income resulting from the perils they insured against. Mm-hmm. Can there be any way to insure for business income that results from some cause not only not covered under a policy, but not even in the control of the insured or the insurer? There's a virus floating around, and it might interrupt you. Now, it's possible that a limited amount of coverage might be conceivable under that score, but we don't know. We're not there yet. And that's the type of thing that would make the ideal article, something that captured something quickly. The good articles, and I do recall the coverage of the Chiodala decisions in Washington State regarding the potential personal liability of an insurance claims adjuster as being very good. That was a crossroads consideration. Sure, it's one claim in one state, but it brings a lot of things together, and it not only tells you what's going on in the business, it gives you occasion to rethink the entire question of who is the adjuster serving, and what are his or her responsibilities to all the people in the party. It's both a particular thing that enlightens a very general consideration. That would be that's the best kind of article, when you find something that you see on a regular basis or have seen once, but it enlightens a basic consideration. That's a powerful article. You mentioned, Matthew, that it's high-level writing and so forth. We want it to be meaningful to a practitioner. I, in particular, would like to get a little more some sort of content, either ideas or content from the insurance academics. I mean, the people in colleges and universities who do study insurance and who write highly technical articles that in and of themselves would not be appropriate for insights. They have mathematical formulas and so forth. But there is knowledge in there that I think would be valuable to a practicing CPCU if converted to, here's what people on the frontier of whether it's actuarial science or data analytics or risk engineering are finding that, and here's what it might mean. It can't be too speculative, but it can look forward a little bit. That's where, so as a professional journal, it's not like an academic journal in the sense that it's got to be new, groundbreaking research, something no one's ever seen before. Right. But it still has to be new and fresh, and it has to provide. We are striving to make sure it provides something of value to practicing CPCU, so they look forward to getting it and have a reason to know that's my publication for me. That's the best I can tell you.
Yeah. Heather, when you think about insights, what do you kind of think about when it comes to the magazine and whatnot?
I go there because I know that the content is going to be rich and keep me engaged because I work in a role that isn't like direct into the day-to-day operations and insurance anymore. Yep. And it keeps me up to date and allows me to see that picture into a world of what's going on out there. And whether it be one of those old things that we're making new again, like you talked about, Joe, or if it's an emerging issue, there's just such rich content there to be able to help me to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on and who's writing about this and what are their opinions, what are their thoughts, and also helps me to know like there's accesses to people within the CPCU society that can help that I could reach out to say, hey, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about the article that you wrote and let's have a discussion about it, because I need to stay in touch with these types of things to stay relevant. Truly, it's about relevancy because when you're not learning, you're dying. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and as we go forward, I would think, now I'm not the chairman of the committee, I don't speak for the committee as such. We terrific chairman Dan Blodgett. We've had a terrific past chairman in Bruce Hicks. Yeoman work in keeping the enterprise going. For myself, and I think a number of the committee members would agree with this, the ideal place would be to make the submission of content in the different interest areas more consistent, so that when I get that, there's going to be something, say, about reinsurance that I want to see, or going to be something about IT or whatever. Now, not every issue would have that, but a more stable pipeline of content with a more balanced and regular submission of items for particular content areas would make it more compelling for all the CPCUs in all those particular functional areas. I can say that I think the committee is now directing its efforts in that regard, and I hope for success there. That would make it even more valuable. If there's one thing right now that is fine, but I would like to have fine-tuned. It's a bit of a crapshoot concerning what will be covered at any given time. It's not a news magazine, and I wouldn't encourage it to try to cover the latest thing, because there is there's Insurance Journal and there's all of those. They're going to bombard you by email. You're going to be slow on that in that game. It's the thing of permanent interest, or of at least some abiding interest to the practicing CPCU. That's the sweet spot for this. And if it can come out on a regular basis, covering a regular series of functional areas, that would be golden.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think, and I think some of the IGs make a real concerted effort to, consistently get some submissions in, at least for consideration. And some of the IGs, I can tell you, agent and broker, it's been something that's been like on our to-do list, and it's something that we're still kind of struggling to execute on consistently to get,
Right.
agent and broker specific pieces in. I would say for anyone who's kind of looking now, granted, this doesn't really, I don't know if this is something that will appeal to or even ring true of someone who's like younger than 30 years old. But if you think of like a typical, like Insurance Journal or Property and Casualty 360, right? That's like almost like Time Magazine, right? Or, something that's more of like a current issues, like we'll talk about the
Right.
news, we'll talk about stuff that's, at least imminent, stuff like that. I always likened Insights to almost like kind of like the New Yorker, right? Like something where there's, thought pieces, there's like intellectual kind of like playful things that go on in terms of, trying to take, like you said, something that happened that might be, one little small corner of the insurance world and maybe extrapolate it or see how that's going to cause ripples throughout the industry. I thought that was interesting. Say someone's interested in putting an article together. They have an idea, they have maybe a title or just a baseline idea of what they're doing. What would you say the first one or two steps are for them to start the process of getting that article submitted to Insights?
Sure. The couple of clear one, you go to the CPCU Society website, look for Insights, and look for its procedures for submitting articles, and it will explain to you how it works and how the society, rather the some of the basics of how the committee works. The other way is to contact your IG committee, work through them to say who is representing us to Insights, and can we, I have an idea for an article and I'd like to submit it, or I'd like to work with the interest group to develop it.
Yep.
Then if you happen to know any individuals on the committee, by all means, just contact us. And you now have my email address, so you're free to share that with anybody in the society. And, I will fill you in on what to expect. And we are eager to have submissions. If you're not accepted right off the bat for publication in Insights, there are web places to put your article if that's more important. Or you have that option of going back and reworking it in one way or another with support from me at least, and others. And by the way, toward the very end, your article will be copy edited by staff at the institutes or the society, and you'll be able to review the copy edits, but that gives it the consistency of style and clarity of language and so forth and so on. So a lot of the burden of writing, if you're someone that finds it a burden, is lifted from you. Others will help you with that. What we're after is, what are the things that you've experienced? What are the things that you've seen? And how do they relate to how other CPCUs will develop their careers and experience their work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's all good stuff.
Say, Matt, I was going to say, Matt, really quick, the publications page, the committee page that's on the CPCU Society website has like a content template as well as like submission guidelines that you can download. They're PDFs that are attached to that page, that can give you some guidance as to how, and there's even like how the scoring information works out there too as well.
Yeah.
So you can kind of understand that rubric and process ahead of time. But those are downloadable PDF links that are right there that help you to kind of put keep it between the ditches and put the parameters around what you're writing there. I would also suggest, and I know that this came because I know Dan pretty well, working in the same company and everything, but and we're in the same chapter of CPCU, but he indicated, that even if you're not somebody who wants to write, because not everybody has that, that
Right.
drive, but if you have an idea or if you know someone who would be interested in writing, help to make them the connection back to the publications committee.
Right.
So that, because you guys want to hear from the broad CPCU community. You want to be able to have their voice in what happens because of the way and the whole purpose of this publication and this journal. So I would highly suggest everybody, somebody who's interested and geared up about, wanting to do that or has a really cool idea of something. The next time you hear that, talk to them about writing for insights and being a part of that. Because it's a great like personal and professional development experience to be able to do that. And like Joe, you said, you get CE credit if you step up and write for insights.
Yes.
And anybody can go out there and read those articles and get CE credit that way too. So those are opportunities for everybody, if they how to be involved. So I love the fact that we have this. It's unique and different in that it's not just like property casualty, and not that they don't have fantastic content. They really do. But we own this in the CPCU Society, and this is kind of like our little baby in our little world where we can share the message from CPCUs and fellow CPCUs. So that's the exciting part of it to me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be something, like I said, of them and for them. And I couldn't agree more. And everybody, if you have the inkling of an idea or something's kicking around in your head, if it gets to me, I can send back 3 to 5 questions. And if you just answered those questions like an exam, you have the beginning of an article. It's once you break the pieces down, it's not that hard to execute good stuff.
Awesome. No, I love it. I think it's probably easier. It's not easy, but I would say it's probably easier than what a lot of people make it out to be, or kind of build it up to be in their heads. I mean, it's still writing an article, but at the same time, as someone whose wife wrote a fiction novel, I see what she went through, and I'm like, you know what? If she can do that, I can write. I can write 1,000 pages, 1,000 words, or 500 words in an article for insights. And Heather, what just kind of came to mind was we should definitely kind of like poll the audience of CPCUs and see if they have like a top 10 of like their favorite insights articles from the past, and just see like if anyone has like some special ones that we could do kind of like a puff piece episode where we just kind of like talk about the people's 10 favorite articles or whatever. But so no, I want to thank you, Joe. Was there anything that we didn't hit on that you wanted to share with people about insights or the publications committee or just the process in general?
Well, people should, however they communicate to the society, they should communicate regarding what they want insights to be. it's right now, yeah, we have established the vision that we have as a professional journal. If they want to see, other kinds of things, they wanted to, and I don't want to get too far beyond, like I said, I don't speak for the committee or anything, but we kick around ideas from time to time about what could be included apart from articles, whether it's news of chapters or other things like that. I think it's fair to say we want insights to be a central part of the CPCU Society experience. And what it is will depend upon what members want. What would you like to anticipate if that thing were to land in your physical mailbox, and that's still being reconsidered, or when it lands in your email box. And by the way, for those wondering, it was mailed out, and that was a big commitment on the part of the institutes and the society, physically mailed out. It's something the committee members would like to see. We'd all like to a lot of things, so we all have to make decisions. But obviously, there is a big cost to that, and part of that decision will be driven by what would CPCUs really find to be compelling. And by the way, the mailings were suspended for COVID simply because so many people were not in their offices. And some people leave their home addresses as part of their registration. Some people don't. For one thing, I would tell people here, if you want to receive CPCU stuff at your home, provide the society with your home address.
That's a fantastic pointer. Yeah, they can definitely go on to the CPCU Society website, and in their profile, they can update their mailing address. And in fact, anyone who does watch this, I would implore you, if you haven't been on there in a while, go on and update your data, period. Because whether it's your mailing address or your email or your phone number or whatever, the society is always in need of current data. And, if you're not telling them where to contact you, they're not going to be able to divine it on their own. So definitely make sure to check out the cpsociety.org website and go to your profile and update that information. And I'll share with folks. Are you comfortable with me, Joe, sharing your email address over the live cast? Okay, so it is Joseph S as in Sam Harrington. That's with 2 R's at Comcast.net.
That's correct. Right. Joseph S. Harrington, Comcast.net.
Awesome. Any parting words, Heather? Anything else that you want to add to the mix here?
No, I really appreciate you, Joe, battling through all of the craziness and adjusting and adapting and moving and shaking with us this evening. So, and I appreciate you coming on with us at short notice as well.
Let me ask you, Heather, are you cold? I mean, you're in a sweatshirt and a hat.
It's really cold where I'm at, though. Yeah.
I'm outside Chicago, and I'm in short sleeve shirt, but regardless, okay.
But Joe, you're probably used to that weather, right? I'm a Southern girl at heart.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Joe doesn't. Joe doesn't
people, the snow drought is over.
Yeah, that is true. That's very true. I would imagine Joe doesn't get out of short sleeves for anything over 35 degrees. Or under 35. Yeah, until it gets under 35. Joe, I want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
I know
guys.
we kind of had to throw this together on the fly, but I think this is extremely valuable. It helps people who are not necessarily or not yet CPCU Society members yet, or folks that are interested and maybe just don't understand the true value that's included in the Insights magazine that comes with their society membership, gives them some more of a insight into that. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time. And we will be back next Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Central, as usual. And that's it. That's a wrap. You got anything else to say, Heather?
No. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in here, and thoughts, and definitely thinking about everybody in the southern part of the U.S. right now that's impacted by the storm. And
Texas, definitely.
Everybody hang in there. Hang in there, Texas.
All right.
Stay warm. Be safe shoveling, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, guys.
Our pleasure. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.